Welcome into PrepAquatics.com. I am Skylar King. As always, you can email me, Skylar at PrepAquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter at SkylarPrep. We're talking mid-season predictions here. This weekend, we're jumping back in to live meet action at the Evanston Invitational on Saturday, and that's going to be a good smattering of a lot of the top teams. It'll be probably my last look at Glenbrook South until conference meet weekend, because they don't go to Nutria Relays the next weekend, and so it's obviously Glenbrook South's made an impression on anybody that's seen them already. So there's not much work left to do to prove that they're a serious trophy, if not state title contender at this point. With how fast they're swimming, it would be a disappointment if they weren't competing to win state this year as a team, let alone what it's going to look like next year when they've got just about everybody back. Before I jump into the predictions, because I don't want to spoil the the joy of finishing out the predictions at the end. Just kind of a high school swimming state of affairs bit of housekeeping. A lot of you probably may have heard about this already. The swimming community is kind of a close, tight-knit group. I just thought that it was significant not because I went there, but because of the history and kind of the standing of the program in the state. There is a chance that in the spring this year, the school board in the Hinsdale School District, along with a couple other sports, including football, is going to drop the boys and girls swim program in Hinsdale Central and Hinsdale South. But obviously Hinsdale Central, with all the state titles, especially when you consider their run of recent success, with all the consecutive trophies they've won, including a state title during that run, it just, I'm a huge sports fan, in general. And when I first heard this and read the articles, I was thinking this is like, Kentucky basketball dropping the program, or Duke, which would never happen. And it just goes to show you that when push comes to shove, the swimming community in general really has to band together, because even though there's a lot of nice pools that have been built in the last 10 years, and there's obviously a good push in a lot of those communities to try to make things better for the swimming community, even one where there's been a strong history of success, the powers that be won't hesitate to give it the death penalty. And so hopefully it isn't the case, but as we walk into that pool at New Trier this year for the state meet, it could be Hinsdale Central's last state meet for who knows how long, until they would potentially reinstate the program. And obviously some things have to happen for it to happen both ways. Basically a referendum has to be approved to save the program, and it's just a sad state of affairs. Obviously for me as an alumni of that swim program and a former captain, but just to me, swimming in general, if this was happening at any school that had a history of success, not even to the level of Hinsdale's, but that makes the sport better in Illinois every year and produces strong talent, and this, long term, if this goes through, big thing potentially for the future of the programs like Fenwick, where a lot of kids from Hinsdale could go, or even like Lyons Township, which is kind of a close public school district where people might move, because they have a swim program still. Anyway, enough of the soapbox, and we will get right into the predictions here. Nothing's changed much for me in the medley relay. St. Charles North, we saw them flex their muscles at the NECO Invitational. They're clearly the best medley relay in the state, and basically we're at the point where they have Will Meyer and you don't. And the difference between Will Meyer and all the other breaststrokers in the state is immense. And so I mean, we could very well see. Frankly, we should see the first 23 50 breaststroke in state history out of Will Meyer this year. I'll be shocked if anyone's really close with the difference he's going to have to everybody else. And it's not like their other guys are slouches. They've got a 49 flyer that's a returner. They've got a backstroker that's in the mix to score, and they've got several freestylers they could throw at the end that'll be more than good enough to get the job done. The question is, are they going to be good enough to make a run at the state record or not, considering what Meyer can do? Hinsdale Central, Stevenson, Wabanzi, and Glenbrook South and North round out my top 6. Lyons Township has really been impressive, though. I have them 7th. I had a really hard time keeping them out of the top 6 with the times they've posted so far. But I think it's tough when it's a new coach. We just don't know for sure if it's going to be the same as it's ever been come taper time. That's the question, not for LT, but for any program where there's a regime change. Even if it's someone that's been on the staff like it is with LT, there's still that question. I mean, we've seen through that stretch of success what it was like at the end of the year with Scott Walker calling all the shots. It's just not ever the same, There's always going to be little differences, and it may still work out with similar results. We just don't know. And everyone else there didn't lose the type of talent that LT did off their relay last year. 200 free, I've still got Luke Maurer. This is where we start to see, though, the hit that the state took with these guys from Whitney Young, St. Ignatius, and the like not swimming. Zabados was a sub 140, 200 guy last year. He's gone. But I do have 2 new members of the top 6. One is Connor Boyle. Before the season, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a total lock that he was going to go 2 individuals. We saw him go 3 relays last year. But based on seeing the lineup at Neuqua Valley Invitational, I think he's clearly going to go 2-1, and then probably free relays for Neuqua. And then Everett Andrew. I talked about him early in the season. I mean, this kid's been incredible. I can't wait to see him in person, obviously, along with his teammate Luke Maurer, who I still have as my state champion in the 200 free at the Evanston Invitational and Nutra Relays coming up. But I mean, clearly, you look at him in the 2 and the 5, a kid that should be top 6 in both. And again, I said it before, I'll say it again, hats off to this kid for making this kind of leap year to year. And, really giving Luke Maurer a wingman, not just individually, but for help on the relays. Hutchinson 2nd, Will Raitt 3rd, Donovan Lehman 5th is the rest of my top 6. Sammy Musali, here's my thing with Musali. The guys aren't going lifetime bests right now. I just find that to be suspicious, and it's, maybe it's a problem that I have, and I'm just wrong. I said the same thing about Rachel Steggy during the girls' season, and she was going, basically lifetime bests she did go lifetime best at sectionals, but you just got to prove it to me in order for me to believe. I mean, Musali just posted lifetime bests in November, and now he's basically going those times still. It's just hard for me to believe there's going to be a big drop coming from those times, where he's already the fastest in the state. I look back at his times from last year, and they're not even close. to what he's doing now. Like, it's just hard for me to believe that anybody can improve that much in 1 year. I moved Will Meyer to the fly. It just doesn't seem like he's going to go the IM. Seems like the 50 and the fly are the two options. Nobody should go the 50 if you have a better potential option. You're not going to beat Topher Stensby. Period. Like, let's get that out of the way. If you think you can win an event, you shouldn't go the 50 or the 100 because you can't win those events. And that to me is, for Meyer, again, just as I kind of like the minutia of all these things, he's got a shot to win Senior Swimmer of the Year if he breaks the breaststroke record and Stensby doesn't break a record. Stensby very well could break 2 records, and then it'll be a done deal. Because Meyer can't break a record other than the breaststroke. But as long as he wins the second event, he's still got a shot. Doesn't seem like he wants to go the IM. He can't win the 50. And in terms of their team, Nate Baxter's good enough. He should be top 6 anyway. That was my only hesitation. You don't want to double up 2 of your stars, but in this case, they're both good enough that it should work out for St. Charles North. Scoring more points than if he was in the 50. Again, this one that was hit hard too because we lost Parker Nolan out of this race on top of all the graduations. That's why Stensby, easy win. Bryce Wyma, I'll probably butcher this one, so I apologize in advance. Mike Hedgevanov from Glenbrook South, just been lights out. A couple times I've seen him, 21-0 relay split. 21 mid, flat out. I've still got Cullen Coughlin here. Now, I think he probably wants to go the fly. It just doesn't make any sense for him to go the fly. The 50 is weak. He's a 20-point flat out. And, the fly might be the most loaded individual race. And I apologize, I didn't actually go through the IM. Ayush Deshpande, Guabanzi Valley, big junior nationals for him. Max Ida, who I had second before, he's still second. Ryan Purdy, Glenbrook North, has been lights out this year. He's actually beat Ida head-to-head when I've seen him. Justin Alderson, Metamora. Andrew Dye, 6 from Naperville Central. And this is another reason Meyer shouldn't go the IM. Alec Filipovic, stud freshman from St. Charles North. Best as I can tell, by far the best freshman in the state. Kid's already been 156 in the IM and 46 in the 100 free. He's a stud talent, and he went 153 at junior nationals in the IM. Should be top 6 in both, I think. And that's just to me kind of locked up the state title for St. Charles North, where they'd be in a real dogfight with Glenbrook South without him. This kind of puts him in the catbird seat. Pierce Bailey, Michael Walsh round up my top 6 of the 50. Sorry to kind of jump around there. Walsh's 50 hasn't been that good this year, especially compared to what he's done in the breaststroke. So I mean that's kind of a leap of faith. He's not even the fastest guy on his team right now. Jack Thorell, who I have in the bottom, is, but I expect him to come around the talents there. My diving top 6, Kevin Sullivan I think should win state easily. The only couple guys that I have at least in the top 6, because they do have Cameron Kalish, Naperville Central in the bottom, and Ethan Toole of Nequa. Ryan Cohn, Glenbrook North, Joey Semeka, St. Charles East, have teams that are going to be competing for top 10. Everyone else, it's kind of a mishmash of different teams whose overall aren't really going to be competing for anything. Now to the aforementioned butterfly: Will Meyer, Deshpande, Ben Kimmel from Lake Park, Quinn Laughlin, Glenbrook South, Nate Baxter, St. Charles North, Nolan Fergus, Marmion. But again, I think we could again have 49s in the bottom. Jake Darlinger, Wabanzi, Kasanovich from York, Andrew Dye, Naperville Central. All guys that have been in the mix to score. last year going 50 points could all be 49s in the bottom. So, the fly, and this is one of going back to talking about a guy like Cullen Coughlin. If you have the time on paper for that 20 point, why go the fly? 100 free, Stensby, Maurer, Boyle, Lehman, Filipovic, who I was just talking about, and Jake Shapiro from Glenbrook North. It gets, after the top 4, it's pretty thin. All those guys have been 45. Really nobody else has been in that realm. And so it could definitely be a dogfight for the 5th and 6th spots. Right now, just the way they're swimming, Filipovic and Shapiro, to me, are the guys, especially when you consider Shapiro was 46-0 last year. 500 free, I still think this is an easy win for Hutchinson. Everett Andrew, I have second now. Ricky Williams, St. Charles North. Zach Boley, Dunlap. Jack Hiss, Aniqua, Sandy Musali, Glenbrook South. And again, the difference to me between the 200 and the 500 is the 200's got a lot more talent in it. So it's an easier top 6 for Musali to make. He could potentially swim the 100 also, but they also have Elliot Chen and Hachavanov to swim the 100 free, who I both have in the bottom. So they're going to have 2 in each. I guess they could have Elliot Chen go the 500 and Musali could go the 100. But to me, this is what makes the most sense in terms of point scoring, because I don't think that Musali would be top 6 in the 100 free, and I don't think that Chen would be top 6 in the 500 free. So this is to me their best chance to get a top 6 out of the combinations. 200 free relay, again, free relays to me I think are easy wins for Stevenson. They've got the best sprinter in the state, and they've got a ton of guys back. Stevenson, St. Charles North, Hinsdale Central, Glenbrook South, Aniqua, LT is my top 6. Again, you've got proven talent on all these relays, and again, I just don't think it's going to be quite as fast as it's been. St. Charles East, Oak Park, Naperville Central are kind of the next group. I considered all of them for top 6. They're not. They don't have the depth of some of the teams in the top 6, or they don't have the star like some of the teams in the top 6 do to make up for the lack of depth. Backstroke. I've got Jaden Olson as the state champion. I kind of left it in the pool of sectionals last year. I don't expect him to do that this year. Ben Kimmel, Lake Park. Will Raid, Oak Park. Noah Clancy, Alton, Cole Junker, Mascuda. Ryan Purdy, Glenbrook North. The backstroke's by far the most out there group of talent in terms of there's just not as many teams that are contenders that have backstrokers. So it's just kind of an interesting quirk to the state this year. Breaststroke, no surprise, Will Meyer, Max Ida, Michael Walsh, Tristan Lundgren, Justin Alderson, and Ben Russo from Metamora, Naperville Central, round on my top 6. Again, the top group is basically what I've had since the start of the year. Meyer, Walsh, and Lundgren have all been top 6 each of the last 2 years. Ida went 55 this offseason. Alderson and Russo, to me, are the best of the rest. Alderson's having a really nice year. For those of you that don't follow the downstate swimming at all, from Metamora. And, but again, you still have guys like Michael Rosa and Dan Lynch, who were 57s last year, that could potentially take spots away from Alderson or Russo. And then the 400 relay finally. Stevenson, Glenbrook South, St. Charles North, Wabanzi, Aniqua, Hinsdale Central. For Glenbrook South and St. Charles North, these relays struggled last year, didn't even score. But it's clearly a new year. Everyone's so much better, and for St. Charles North, they've never scored a relay without Will Meyer, in his high school career. But the addition of Alec Filipovic and the maturation of the rest of these guys, again, if this relay doesn't come through, they're probably not going to win state. It's really hard to win state without 3 relays in the top. And, you know, they just went a really big time at the Negro Invitational, which leads you to believe that this year is going to be different. And I think it is for them. And I still see St. Charles North locking up their first ever state championship. My top 10, St. Charles North 165, Glenbrook South 143, Stevenson 123, Hinsdale Central 111, Waubonsee 80 in 5th. Waubonsee and Glenbrook South are really the 2 big movers since the preseason rankings. Nequa 78, Glenbrook North 68, Loyola 63, Naperville Central 62, St. Charles East 60 is my top 10 cutoff. LT 58 though is right there. And then you have Oak Park 44, Fenwick 38 as sort of the peripheral contenders for the top 10. And, you know, I'm excited for the second part of the season as we push past Christmas break, get into some couple big weekends of invitationals before we get to conference sectionals and state. But, you know, the teams that we thought were going to be battling for trophies, even going back like a year ago, are still the teams. It's those 4: St. Charles North, Glenbrook South, Stevenson, Hinsdale Central, and you know, right now it looks like Stevenson is, you know, with their relays are, you know, even though I still don't have them getting that many individual points that aren't Stensby's, practically none actually. The strength of the relays can still win them a state, or not a state championship, but a trophy. And, you know, I'd feel really good about Stensby after everything he's meant to that program and everything he's accomplished individually to get that team recognition as he heads off to Notre Dame next year. And then again, kind of like the girls meet, there's a nice little battle for the state championship shaping up between St. Charles North and Glenbrook South. And it's the high-powered, you know, Will Meyer collecting state championship points and winning the medley relay against the kind of methodical, they've got talent everywhere trying to put together a couple extra top 6s of Glenbrook South. And, you know, that'd be a fun meet. You know, we typically don't get big showdowns for the state title. Clearly one team that's clearly better than everybody else by a large margin. And so we just had a fun girls meet where it was close, and now we could have a fun boys meet where it'd be close. That'd be a really rare year in the history of Illinois swimming. Like I said, I'll be at Evanston Invitational on Saturday. As always, you can email me, skylarprepaquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter, @SkylarPrep, and we'll be back next week recapping a huge invitational. It's like 16 teams or somewhere in that range at Evanston, and so good chance to get a look at a lot of fun teams, and we'll be back talking about it here at prepaquatics.com.